on CRN Digital Talk Radio. That's right, not only Saturday afternoon, but also early on Saturday and Sunday mornings. So remember, join us for the polka party every weekend right here on CRN Digital Talk Radio.
Everybody's talking at me.
My guest, Stephen Camarada, Director of Research, Center for Immigration Studies, and you can see everything that they're doing over there at www.cis.org, cis.org. Now, let's get to this story about California. You say in 1970, 9% of California's population was comprised of immigrants. By 2008, it was 27%. Boy, I remember when the roads were nice, the water was clear, the school education was perhaps in the top 3 of the nation, if not the first, and boy, things have changed.
Yes, it's obviously the state has experienced a very large influx of immigrants. It's had other challenges as well, but the immigrants who've entered this and settled in the state, a very large fraction, have very little education. Now, keep in mind that the immigrants that we were looking at were mostly individuals who've come as adults. Most people come after the age of 25, or at least by age 25. There are immigrant children, but most of the children in immigrant families, of course, were born here. And what this has done, though, this large influx of unskilled immigrants, both legal and illegal, has meant that a state, in this case California, has gone from having the 7th most educated workforce in 1970 to having the 50th, or the dead last, educated workforce in terms of the share of its workers who had completed high school. So
doesn't that seem like a really, really big drop from 7 to in a short period of time?
Yes, that's right.
Boy.
Well, it is the case that it is immigrants. About 1 out of every 6 workers in the state has not graduated high school. Again, making us the lowest.
35th, you say?
Yeah, it's about 1 out of every 6, or a sixth of workers in California have not graduated high school, making California, on average, measured this way, less educated than Mississippi or Arkansas or some of the other states that now rank at the bottom, which are sort of, the states you might guess: Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, and California. These are the states that generally comprise the least educated states in the country in terms of the share of their workers who's completed high school. If we look at the share of its workers that have at least a college degree, what we find is California is more at the national average. It's not particularly well educated, but it's not particularly uneducated. What seems to happen as a result of immigration is that there are fewer people in the middle. You get a kind of polarization of the education distribution. So there are fewer people who've graduated high school and fewer people who have some college. They're sort of shifted downward, and you get a lot of people who are high school dropouts in California, and then you have about a normal number of, typical number of college graduates. So what this has done is also helped to contribute to income polarization in the state, so that, for example, in 1970, California was right at the national average in terms of income inequality, ranking 25th in the nation. But today it is the 6th most unequal state in the country if we look at the distribution of income. And maybe to put this in perspective, California's income distribution in 2008 was more uneven than was Mississippi's in 1970.
And then you get into 2008, California ranked 11th highest in terms of the share of the households accessing at least one major welfare program, and 8th highest in terms of the share of the state's population without health insurance.
That's right.
Boy.
Well, see, let's take, and this is again in the report, in California, about 39% of immigrant households in the state use one of the major welfare programs: food assistance, cash assistance, Medicaid, or public or rent-subsidized housing. So it's 39% of immigrant-headed households. But for the native-headed households in California, it's 18%. So because you have this very high level among the immigrant households, it pulls up the overall average in California, making it the 11th highest. If we look at lack of health insurance, we see a similar picture. In California, 13% of the native-born population and their kids are without health insurance, but for immigrants and their kids, it's 28%. And so the immigrants make up a lot of the state's population, and because 28% of them don't have health insurance, it pulls the average very far up, and making California the 8th most state in terms of not having health insurance. The other ones are like Nevada, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and then some southern states like Louisiana and Mississippi.
You think a lot of politicians, Stephen, when they see the report from CIS, just close their eyes? No, I don't want to talk about it. Let's kind of bury that away. And
I think that there's there is and this is understandable to some extent. There's a desire to see the benefits of immigration, which there are, and there's no desire to look at the costs. And I think our immigration system reflects that fact, that political elites are very reluctant here in Washington, but also in Sacramento and elsewhere, to look at some of this kind of data and examine the impact of immigration on the state, so that we could maybe have a more sensible policy and bring these numbers down. And so I think this is the end result.
Well, and speaking of the end, we're out of time, but your summation here in this excellent article that you bring up is that, California is home to the high-tech and entertainment industries, has one of the nation's largest tourism industries, most productive agriculture land in the country. You can just imagine if there wasn't so much illegal immigration going on, no telling what we'd be doing out here. Hey, thank you very much, Stephen, and look forward to your next article. And by the way, if anyone wants to read this in its entirety, go to www.cis.org. Thank you very much, sir. Look forward to our next visit.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Right now, I want to go to C.C. Cole. She's a writer from rural Mississippi, schooled in medicine, lives in the suburbs with her family and greyhounds. Is she a bus driver? No, I don't think so. In addition to fictional writing, she studies world history and martial arts. C.C., welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm well.
Can't hardly hear you. Are you on a cell phone?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go. Yeah. See, okay. Once you get up on that stepladder, everything's just fantastic. Well, serious subject today. We're going to talk about domestic violence. And I was reading just one fact here. On the average, more than 3 women a day are murdered by their husbands or boyfriends. And you wrote the book Act of Redemption, and this is actually the first of a four-part series that you're going to be discussing, right? Or 4 different books, I guess?
That's right. It's 4-part series.
Uh-huh. What got you really into this? Something personal, I think?
It was something personal. It was after the death of my sister, and it was a domestic violence incident. And it was a situation where all of us and our family were seeing what happens on the news, only it was us. And I wasn't in a situation where I could just take, 1 to 2 years off my life and just try to recover from all that. So I turned to creative writing as a way to escape and to help me gain closure of what happened.
Well, we're going to talk about the book, and I know